Recently talking about software tools that are super useful that most people maybe never heard of, and this one was at the top of the list. So we use something ever since graduate school, this tool called the Molecular Weight Calculator from PNNL, Pacific Northwest National Labs. So I thought that we would show today a couple of things we use it for, which are really have nothing to do with calculating molecular weight and everything to do about chromatography. It's got this great little hidden tool in there called the Capillary Flow Calculator that helps you do things like calculate the optimal flow rate, to calculate the expected pressure that a column may see for a method you may be translating. And so I thought we would give a couple of little examples of this super useful tool that a lot of people don't know about. So to find it, you can just Google PNNL Molecular Weight Calculator. It will be should be the top hit, and it takes you to a little installer. When you install it and open it, you'll get what looks like a traditional molecular weight calculator. It does lots of cool things in there, isotope distribution modeling, etc. But what I want to talk about today is really this little tool called the Capillary Flow Calculator. So those of you who develop LC methods or transfer other people's LC methods, it's often when you put a column on and you're trying to know whether or not things are going well, one of the most useful or often cited questions is just like, what is the right pressure? Like what should the pressure be for this particular method? And so in this little calculator, you can see you can enter in this case, say I have a 2.1 millimeter column with a 10 centimeter length or 100 millimeter length. It's a particle diameter of 1.8 microns. And we're going to run it, the method that I'm translating, say we're going to run it at 300 microliters per minute. You can tell it what to calculate. So if you want to put in a pressure and calculate the volumetric flow rate, you can do that. But in this case, let's just say we want to calculate the pressure and we want to vary the flow rate. So you can see that under these conditions with this column, it's calculating an expected pressure of almost 4,200 psi. You can change this in bar as well, so 200 and 290 bar. One of the critical pieces though here is this solvent viscosity. So what this does is it uses temperature and percent acetonitrile. So it uses acetonitrile water mixture since that's the most common. And you can calculate if say, all right, if we're running 100% acetonitrile and we're running at 25 degrees, at room temperature, it then can copy this viscosity over, and you can see that the pressure will change as associated with that. So at the highest percent acetonitrile, or the highest pressure, which is usually about 15% acetonitrile, you can copy that viscosity, and the max pressure should be about 7,300 psi. So you can use this just to quickly calculate kind of where you are in the context of, is everything connected correctly? Do I have a blockage somewhere? Two other things I want to show in this little calculator that are super useful. Often when you're running methods, you're like, am I running at the lowest at an appropriate flow rate? So the Van Diemter curve, is only really relevant for isocratic methods. But in this case, you can see, okay, if I have a molecule, am I running close to the correct optimal flow rate? So in this case, you can see that in the bottom it says extra column broadening calculations, and it'll give you this sort of optimum linear velocity calculation here based on the diffusion coefficient. So diffusion coefficients, if you hover over, it gives you like an estimated diffusion coefficient for small organics. So if you're doing like a metabolite measurement versus doing a measurement for peptides or for proteins would be even lower diffusion coefficient. So we've just used the default value for organics, and you can see that the optimum linear velocity is 0.1667, and we're running at 0.37. So if you're trying to essentially to make your column itself as optimal as possible, you might run into a situation where you want to decrease this flow rate somewhat down to 200 microliters a minute, and that will tell you, okay, we're now running somewhere just above the optimum, which is mostly where you want to be for gradient. for gradient optimization. Now that's obviously going to make your method longer, so you might want to run at higher, but then you're balancing the pressure. So this is just a super useful way to kind of get a handle on, am I running my column in sort of close to the optimum that could be for my particular molecule. Anyway, hopefully you find this tool useful, Molecular Weight Calculator. Hope you enjoy using it. Go and download it at the PNNL website and give it a shot. And hopefully it makes your method translation a little bit easier. Thanks.